Hello and welcome to Awakening to Your Story TV, the place to learn, get inspired, and be supported with heart-centered ideas to improve your life. I'm your host, author, heart, and self-love enthusiast, Alicia Hartzell. Today, let's talk about this idea that says you can have what you want. Now, wouldn't that feel so good to have what you want? Now, I'm not sure when the last time someone reminded you of this, but you are a creator, designed to set into motion your deepest desires. This is what you came here to do, create life, moment by moment and thought by thought. If you can want it, then you can co-create it into reality. That's right, you are a creator by nature. This is your story. You are the author and the main character of it. You can build anything that you want into reality, one thought and one feeling at a time. So you can absolutely have what you want. And get this, as you build it into reality, you don't even have to have all the details figured out. You simply have to ask for it, then feel your way into it as if it's reality now. This feeling your way into it, it creates space for it to come into your life. Can you imagine if you could allow yourself the reality of feeling what you want now in this moment? All the resistance is gone and you just allow those feelings of having to light up your reality right now. This having is for big things and for small things and literally everything in between. Now, I don't usually tell stories, but I have a really good one that I think is going to help illustrate this power of you having what you want. One of my very favorite cellular memories comes from when I lost a diamond in one of my rings. Now, I realize that this is a very small, tangible thing, but the idea really applies to big things and things that maybe aren't so tangible. Okay, I looked down at my hand and my heart sank. I knew that this missing stone, this missing diamond, was there the night before, and I couldn't see it now. It was gone. And I wanted to find it so badly. And for a moment, I thought about how awful it was, how impossible it was going to be to find it. It could be anywhere, in a rug, in another room, down the kitchen sink. It was just impossible. But then I stopped myself mid-thought and realized, you know what? I write my story, one thought and one feeling at a time, and I don't want to write this story. I don't want this pit in my stomach. So I wrote and felt my way into a very different story. I thought about how it would feel to just look down at my hand and see that stone flashing back at me. I kept saying to myself, oh, there you are, of course. And as I thought my way through it and felt my way into it, I really allowed myself to feel tickled and ecstatic. In my mind's eye, I could see that sparkle on the ground shining up at me. And I sat there with my eyes closed for a few minutes and just let myself feel the feelings of finding it. And then I got the flashlight out and I went through the entire house on my hands and knees. And I just kept telling myself, oh, there you are. And I kept feeling that excitement. And when I didn't see it, for a minute, I almost turned back into the other direction. But then I set my thoughts ahead again. And instead, I kept going forward and thinking, oh my gosh, there you are. I kept focusing on those words, oh, there you are, of course. Anytime I let that feeling of my stomach turning come in, I just simply said, nope, that's not my story. And I gave myself permission to really feel what it would feel like to have it. I walked over to my desk and I just sat for a few minutes. And I just let my mind be tickled by the idea of having it. There was no one else there, so nobody could talk me out of my feelings or talk me into something else. I just knew that I was going to find it, that it was going to find me. And I watched my thoughts and my feelings, and I just kept allowing myself to feel tickled and thrilled. I got up from my desk, and I went in to get a drink from the kitchen. And as I was walking back, something caught my eye. And I bent down, and I put my finger on it, and I picked it up. And sure enough, it was the diamond right there. It found me. And I was literally thrilled. Every thought that I had been working to think and every feeling that I had, it was as real in that moment as it had been in all the moments I had been working for it. Now, I had to walk over it a dozen times before it found me. But this is how we create every day, with small things and with big things. We want something and we ask for it, and then we think and we feel our way into it. then you have to ease up on it so that you could find it and that it can find you. Don't get bogged down in the details, right? Just feel your way into it. In this creation process, there is always time in between the asking and it becoming realized. In this time in between, sometimes we find ourselves thinking in opposition to our truth that says we can have what we want. So we have energy moving towards the desire, and then we have thoughts in contradiction to the desire, creating energy pulling against it. Now, if I had allowed myself to think about not finding the diamond, those thoughts and those feelings would have followed. They would have pulled the energy away from what I wanted. And this is where we often find ourselves being pulled in two separate directions. The direction of what we want and the direction of how we feel right now not having it. And that's okay. There is power and opportunity in every aspect of your story. But I don't want you to get stuck believing that because you don't have something right now, that you won't ever have it or that you can't create it. Now, here are a few typical thoughts that you might find sneaking in if you have been pulled in the direction of believing that you can't have what you want. The first one, I can't have what I want. Then there's one that says the things I want are unattainable for me and things feel too out of reach for me. What I want isn't meant for me and it feels off limits to me. Right? Now, none of these thoughts feel good when you think them. It's never going to feel good to be in resistance to your truth. Now, it's important to remember and to understand that thoughts like these are separate from who you are. You may think them and they may feel very real to you in the moment, but they do not actually define you, and they are not essential to who you are. Thoughts like these limit your truth and make you feel smaller and less than what you were designed to feel like and experience in your life. It's for this very reason that I like to call them out for what they are, limiting beliefs. Now, belief is something that is a repetitive pattern of thinking that creates focus and momentum that leads you to wherever you find yourself in your life. Now, there are also beliefs aligned with your truth that feel supportive and fortifying as you think them. When you focus on them, they get you all jazzed up and excited about life. And it feels like you're plugged right into that source energy where everything is possible. Now, beliefs, they are picked up in a lot of different ways. And limiting beliefs can be picked up very easily by people who are limited themselves, right? They may hand them down to you. They may try to convince you of what your reality should be according to their own limitation. And often in our uncertainty, we take them for reality because we believe that what they're saying is true. It can also be handed down to you with situations that come into your life that feel really negative, that have a lot of negative energy behind them. Or when you find yourself in a negatively repetitive situation, right? You can easily adopt a limiting belief in that place. Now, no matter how you pick them up, limiting beliefs are always there and they're always going to contradict your essential truth. And they never feel good when you think them. That's how you know. So, what if you're tired of thinking thoughts that feel bad and you want to think thoughts that feel better? Well, it's totally within your power. And that's the great thing about belief. Because they are simply thoughts that you think over and over again, you absolutely have the power to change them. Now, I like to call this process repatterning. There are endless ways of repatterning your thoughts, but the important thing is to remember that it happens one thought at a time. Now, your first job is to notice a negative thought that is causing you discomfort, right? Just watch it. It is an indicator that you are out of alignment with your truth. Call it out so that you can no longer have it playing on repeat in the back of your mind, right? As you bring your conscious awareness to the thought, your next job is to stop believing what it's telling you. When you do this, it slows down the momentum and energy and emotion that it's been carrying with it. Very freeing, very freeing. You were never really meant to believe those thoughts anyway, right? You were meant to feel aligned with your truth. Using the example of the diamond, I had to stop believing the thoughts that told me that finding it would be impossible. Once you have the limiting belief isolated, then you can see it for what it is, and you can start to make room for new ideas to emerge. Now, this is where you get to redirect your thoughts and feel your way back to your truth. So let's say you have a thought that says that you can't have what you want, right? What if you take the limiting beliefs and the limitation off that thought? What would you have then? You might be able to find a thought that says something like, I can have what I want. Now, think back onto my story if that helps you get curious and excited. And as you do that, start to think about what it would feel like for you to have what you want, whatever that want may be. It can help you start to reach for thoughts like, I am a creator by nature, the author and main character of my story, and I can build anything into reality one thought and one feeling at a time. Now, a thought like that feels really good, and it gives you permission to feel like what you want is coming to you, doesn't it? Now, keep reminding yourself, I have the power to focus on the feelings of having it right now in this moment, long before it shows up. Then picture yourself there, in your mind's eye, feeling it and having it. Let yourself play with it as much as you can, and do it with ease. Remember, you don't have to figure out all the details. You just have to keep reaching for thoughts like, nothing is off limits to me. It's making its way to me, and I am open and ready, right? Put your mind and energy there as often as possible. When you activate thoughts like these, it helps you create a deeper language and ownership for your truth and your desire. This is why it's so valuable not to react, repress, or rebel from any limiting beliefs, but rather use them. When you stop taking direction from them and you get curious instead, you allow them to help you create language for your truth. From this place of curiosity, you will find yourself living a very different kind of experience. So let's call out some of those new patterns of thinking so that you can have them in your back pocket, right? The first one, I can absolutely have what I want. Another one might be, if it's on my heart and in my mind, it is perfectly designed for me. What about, I am a creator by nature, the author, main character of my story, and I can build anything into reality one thought and one feeling at a time. That's one of my favorites. What about, I have the power to focus on the feelings of having anything that I want now, in this moment, long before it shows up, right? What about, nothing is off limits to me? Gosh, thoughts like these, they're way more aligned with your truth, and they have a beautiful sense of freedom when you really start to think them and feel them, right? So get curious and allow those thoughts and feelings to take precedent. Take a second or third look to make sure the thoughts that you're thinking are really the ones that you want to be having. And remember, your reality changes one thought and one feeling at a time. So now let's talk about some tools that will help you stay plugged into your truth as you're doing all this repatterning. Intention setting has two very powerful jobs. The first job is to consciously claim what it is you want. And the second job is to act as a check-in for your thoughts. I'm going to offer you one that is really good for when you're working on repatterning your thoughts, but have fun coming up with one of your very own. I would start your day out with it and then return to it as many times as you need to, right? So write it out, put it somewhere where you can see it in the morning, and try to use it as much as possible. Okay, so try this one on for size. My intention is to watch my thoughts with compassion and to reach for thoughts that feel good to me. My intention is to feel good, and I'm going to use my thoughts to help me get there, right? Okay, now another thing that really helps as you're repatterning these thoughts is giving yourself permission. Self-permission can feel like opening a door that was once closed. It also helps you claim your power to do or not do whatever it is your heart really wants. So here's one that you can use, but I challenge you to create one that feels really good to you using your own words. Okay, I give myself permission to make room in my heart for my desires to easily show up. One thought and one moment at a time. I give myself permission to say I can have it, I will have it, and it is already on its way to me. It feels good, right? An additional trick that I love to help build up those new patterns of thinking is to flood your mind with thoughts that are like them. Use outside sources, right? Because an idle mind is always going to tend to lead you towards what it knows. So you have to keep your thoughts moving in the direction of where you want it to go. So listening to podcasts of people who you really like or that are focused in the same place that you want to go is great. Watching videos of people who inspire you to deepen those new patterns of thinking are wonderful, right? Watch a movie that reinforces the way you want to feel. Write out your truths as many times as you can, and then go back and read them over and over again. Read them out loud to yourself. When you write things down, it helps your brain prioritize what it is you want to focus and act on, right? And then reading them activates your mind in a very similar way, but it sets into motion your imagination, and it allows you to really see it coming into life. So prioritize those thoughts, set those intentions, and activate that imagination. Tell an inner circle friend that you trust about what you're working on so that you can repattern with them and they can celebrate with you as it all kind of unfolds before you. Remembering, repatterning is all about changing the focus and starting to support those new thoughts that you're building. It happens one thought at a time, so watch those thoughts as they come in and choose the ones that feel better. These kind of micro adjustments give you back your power. Okay, so wherever you're finding this video, I'm going to link some of the previous episodes from Awakening to Your Story TV that might help you really create ownership for this idea of having. There's also going to be a realigning and repatterning video that will go hand in hand with this specific episode of having what you want that you'll be able to enjoy. Okay, now, if you really like a more hands-on approach, you can always grab a copy of the Awakening to Your Story book, the starter kit, or the River of Life handbook at awakeningtoyourstory.com. Remember, you can have what you want in your life. You are a brilliant creator. So until next time, know that I am holding a place of love for you where your power to create, well, it's undeniable. For more support, information, and inspiration, join me at awakeningtoyourstory.com.